Hi, shalom friends. Someone once mentioned that spirituality is like a bird. If you hold a bird too tightly in your hand, you'll stifle it, you'll kill it. But if you hold it too loosely, it'll just fly away. There has to be that wonderful balance between dedication and commitment, discipline, but at the same time, a type of a forbearance, an allowance, almost a freedom to allow the soul, which is likened to a candle, to flicker. A teaching of the Baal Shem Tov that if you look at the body in the manner of a horse, the soul is the rider and the horse is the body. If the rider holds on to the reins too tightly, the horse won't run, and it certainly will not neigh. But as long as the rider is in control, and he loosens the reins, and now the horse has a bit more freedom, the horse will be happier, the rider will be happier, and they will work much more not as two opponents, but as the merging of one dynamic source of energy. The rider and the horse become one. So we have the code of Jewish law, we have the Talmud, we have Jewish traditions and observances. Without a doubt, we must keep them. This is what harnesses and connects the body with the soul. But at the same time, it's always important to remember that the purpose of the Shulchan Aruch is not to constrict the body. It's merely to direct the body. And often the litmus test of whether you're doing it correctly or not is, are you happy? Do you feel free? Is the Torah weighing you down, or is the Torah uplifting you? Is the Torah a burden, or is the Torah itself the wings? Much of Hasidic thought tries to give us that perspective, to show us how the expression of being a Jew and being divine and being spiritual actually allows us to soar and to feel free. Often we think that we're in control, but at the same time, we're not. And occasionally we find ourselves lost, whether it be physically or spiritually, and we wonder, what are we doing here? And the truth is, God put us there for a reason. I could go on and on with this thought, but I'll just share with you a story which I think demonstrates it in a very graphic way. Though the name is made up, the story is true. I'll call a fellow Mr. Avraham from Chicago. He's a business person, and he finds himself going to Wisconsin, some 350 miles away from Chicago, to be in a 3-day business meeting. So he checks into a hotel. He drove the whole way, and he came there in the afternoon when he checks into the hotel, a little bit before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Because he was driving and wanted to make sure that he would be there on time, he actually did not put on his tefillin yet. His thought was that right before the business meeting, he would put on the tefillin, say the mincha afternoon prayer, and then would spend the next 2.5 days doing what he has to do, what he came for. But when he checked into the hotel, he couldn't find his tefillin, which was really unusual because he was quite sure that he had packed it in, and though he looked in his valise and he looked into his carry-on, he couldn't find it. Now, ordinarily, that would be distressing in itself, but there's always an option. Well, if you're in Chicago, how far are you from a pair of tefillin? You go to the local Orthodox synagogue, I'm sure there's a pair of tefillin you could put on. There's always someone you could call up and borrow from. But he didn't know anyone in Wisconsin, and as far as he knew, there was no Orthodox synagogue in the entire small city. Plus, he had the pressure of showing up to the meeting. So he goes to the meeting goes well. 5:30, he goes back to his room, and he realizes he only has approximately 2 hours left to the summer day before putting on the tefillin. What should he do? So he takes out a phone book and uses a little bit of chutzpah. He starts looking through the phone book, people living in, and guessing which name is Jewish. So, Mr. Lowenstein, hello, my name is, I'm coming from Chicago, I need a pair of tefillin. Mr. Lowenstein very politely says, I'm very sorry, but I'm not Jewish. And of course, our friend from Chicago hangs up and apologizes. And it goes through a Kohen who doesn't know what tefillin are. And then there's another Goldstein who's deceased. And after going through 7 or 8 names, he realizes that time is passing. He doesn't have the tefillin. Why is this happening to him? And then just randomly, as he flips through, he finds another Jewish name, and he prays, God, let this person have tefillin. Calls up the fellow, and we'll call him Bernstein. And Bernstein says yes. He says, hi, my name is Avraham. I'm from Chicago. I'm a businessman. I need a pair of tefillin. And I was wondering if by any chance you have a pair of tefillin. Bernstein was very surprised. He had never heard of this guy, Avraham, doesn't know him, never met him. He says, as a matter of fact, I do have a pair of tefillin. But I regret to say, I don't think they're kosher. And for that reason, I'm retired. I haven't put on tefillin for years. I still have my bar mitzvah tefillin, but I sense they're not good. So Avraham from Chicago says to Bernstein from Wisconsin, well, why didn't you have it checked or fixed? He says, well, to tell you the truth, I can't afford it. And for a moment, Avraham forgot about his predicament and said to himself, I'm a businessman. And he says to Bernstein, I would be very happy to pay for a new pair of tefillin. Bernstein says, oh, no, I couldn't do that. You're a stranger. How can I impose upon you? He says, no, please, it would be an honor, a privilege, for a person like yourself to put on tefillin. And then jokingly he says, you'll never know when you get another phone call. Anyway, after a couple of minutes of some very warm conversation, Bernstein promises that he's going to call up Rabbi Wolf in Chicago to order a pair of tefillin, and he'll pay half, and Avram from Chicago, who knows Rabbi Wolf, will pay the other half. Anyway, Rabbi Wolf gets a phone call that day. Fellow Bernstein with a strange story. Hi, Rabbi Wolf. We have a mutual acquaintance called Avraham. He just called me. He's in Wisconsin. He said that you have a pair of tefillin that I could buy. I'll pay half. He'll pay half. And of course, when he gets to the bottom of the story, Rabbi Wolf is excited. He FedExes him. The next day, Bernstein has a pair of tefillin. And till today, 2 years have passed where they're still in contact. In the meantime, what happens to our hero? He's in his room, and he really wants to put on tefillin, but where is he going to get it from? In frustration, he starts opening up his valise and his briefcase and shaking them out. And the strangest thing had happened. In his business attaché case, the pair of tefillin was actually underneath a bunch of paper. So he actually went to the business meeting. He had the tefillin the whole time. Of course, he put it on gratified, but then said to himself, why was I here? Why couldn't I find my tefillin? Why did I have to go through such stress? The answer is, so I could meet Bernstein and get him a pair of tefillin. So here's a story with a happy ending. And that story is me and you. We sometimes don't want to be in a place. Sometimes we think that a mistake has taken place. Sometimes we want to do a mitzvah and it doesn't happen. We have to know there's an underlying reason for it. Search. A little bit deeper. Is there anyone that you could talk to? Is there something that you could accomplish? If you're in a place of darkness, can you perhaps kindle a candle? Maybe make a blessing. Maybe instigate some goodness. May God grant us the wisdom to use these opportunities, both the places where we plan, and in many times the places which are unplanned are truly the most rewarding. Shalom.